Happy National Reptile Awareness Day. Let's talk about crested geckos. I personally have two crested geckos, Toast and Cheerio. One of the biggest pet myths or arguments when it comes to crested geckos is about terrarium size, and that crested geckos should have the largest tanks possible. The thing with crested geckos is the bigger is better rule does not apply to them. In fact, it's sort of the opposite. Now, crested geckos are an arboreal species of gecko, meaning they prefer to climb rather than to walk around on flat soil. This also means that they require a more vertical enclosure rather than a horizontal one. Now let's get into why a crested gecko should not be kept in anything larger than an 18 by 18 by 24 enclosure. And when people say your enclosure is too small, this is just not true. A 18 by 18 by 24 or even a 12 by 12 by 18 enclosure can be made suitable for a crested gecko. People are not measuring the actual airspace in the enclosure. This is the space that your gecko needs, and you just need to make sure to cram it in with a bunch of leaves, vines, branches, enough stuff that your gecko can actually climb on. If not, then your enclosure would be too small because they don't have enough climbing surfaces. It's climbing surfaces your geckos need more of, not airspace in the enclosure. A larger terrarium just gives them more airspace, which even though they are arboreal, it does not mean they need more air. It means they need more surface to climb on. Splat here is perfectly content in his little habitat and still gets gecko zoomies regularly, and he has plenty of space to get all his energy out. And because his owners have provided so many climbing surfaces for him, he has plenty of room, more room than the average crested gecko. This means all of what would have been just empty airspace in the enclosure has now been taken up by plants and climbing sources, branches, vines, etc., for him to climb on and for him to have as much room as possible in his small space. And no, crested geckos do not need as vertical enclosures as people think. For example, this is Rusty. He is kept in an 18 by 18 by 18 enclosure. He is perfectly happy in here because, yet again, his owners have crammed just enough stuff in there that he has all the climbing surfaces imaginable. Crested geckos prefer to feel more enclosed, meaning all these crammed leaves and such make him more comfortable because he's constantly hiding, constantly feeling like he is surrounded and hidden in tons of branches. This makes your gecko feel way more comfortable and makes them enjoy their space a lot more. This also means your crested geckos will be more active and you will most likely see them a lot more than a crested gecko in a larger tank. Crested geckos, when they're in a larger space, struggle to find their food. Crested geckos as a species are not very smart, especially when it comes to searching for food and hunting. Crested geckos, unlike other species of reptile, do not go searching for food. Instead, they'll just be wandering around and they will happen to stumble across a worm and they'll be like, num, which means in a larger space, they're way less likely to stumble across their food bowl that you put in there. It makes it way harder for them to get the proper nutrients. And yes, I know I'm going to get a ton of hate for making this video, but I don't care. It needs to be talked about. I also want to mention that it depends on the gecko. Some geckos may do well in larger enclosures like an 18 by 18 by 36, but most of them do not. So it is really depends on your gecko. Happy Reptile Awareness Day, and make sure to do your research. Google does not count as a source for research. And yes, I have a lot more to say about this topic. I will make a longer video on it sometime.